Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the ROKER RAPPORT podcast in association with the Sunlun Community Soup Kitchen. It's Gav, back this morning for a bit of an impromptu episode just to discuss the arrival of Tony Mowbray as Sunlun's new head coach, not manager, head coach. And joining me this morning is Martin Wanless. Hi Martin.
Hello Gav. I think if somebody had told me last Wednesday that before the end of August we'd be sat here talking about Tony Mowbray's appointment as our new head coach, I would have called somebody to come and cart them off, but here we are.
It's been mad, hasn't it? It's been mad. To be fair though, I got my head around the idea of all of this days ago. So, when the news eventually dropped, it was just a formality, wasn't it? Tony Mowbray's the new head coach. No, and obviously likewise for the people listening right now, everyone sort of had a few days to process the idea of it happening, and now it's the case. Obviously tonight we play Rotherham at the Stadium of Light. So people might be listening to this after the matter of fact, but we're recording this before the Rotherham game, and he'll be on the touchline, won't he? So your initial thoughts then on this whole scenario that's led to us appointing him as our head coach?
I think we've picked over the bones of Alex Neil's departure and all that sort of stuff quite a lot, haven't we? But in terms of
I'm banning his name from now on.
Voldemort. He's actually quite a resemblance. No, somebody got in trouble for saying that, didn't they? I better not say that. But look, I think he's a safe appointment, isn't he? He's an appointment who he's a fella who's got vast experience. He's done a good steady job keeping Blackburn in the Championship and establishing them in the Championship. And he got Blackburn up in one season from League One, and we know how hard that league is to try to bounce back straight up from. So he's a potentially a decent appointment in that respect. To me, he's a little bit it's a safe one, isn't it? It's not a really inspiring one. It's not one to necessarily get overly excited about. I did have the back of my mind wonder whether he might have an assistant like Liam Manning or somebody like that. A young coach would come in to work alongside him for a period of time. But obviously we've been there before with Wilkinson and Cottrell, and that didn't really work out. So we don't really want to repeat of that. But look, I think it's a good, and the best thing about it, I think, is that the club have acted quickly. Like when we got rid of Lee Johnson earlier this year, we took 2.5 weeks to find a replacement, and that really cost us our chances of automatic promotion. So to get him in quickly, he obviously likes to play younger players. He's seen the squad. He's been around the club, all season. He was in next to Kira Louis Dreyfus for the first game of the season. He was at a couple of pre-season friendly games. So whether he's been just waiting in the wings to be sort of shoehorned in if this happened, so he's obviously seen us play a few times. And look, I think it's a safe, decent appointment. Yeah,
totally agree. When his name was first mooted, there was a few rumblings on social media. People weren't too happy, sort of as a uninspiring choice. But to me, for where we're at right now, for the squad we've got, our aims this season, it's a sensible appointment, like you've said. And Tony Mowbray gives you stability, which ultimately is what we all said before the start of the season we wanted, wasn't it? We all wanted to just be comfortable this year. We can reassess next summer. We can look again at how we want to go forward. But ultimately, that first year back in the Championship, you don't want to be flirting with relegation. And Mowbray's Blackburn teams were never like that. I mean, the criticisms I've seen of him have all been around sort of starting really well and then dropping off towards the end of the season when he was at Blackburn. But that's sort of the view we've been given from Blackburn fans. But when you actually look at it written down, his record at Blackburn was decent. They basically improved every season on the position that he took them over in. I mean, you mentioned there that he got them promoted out of League One. He left them in 8th place last season, and a lot of their fans were just disappointed that they didn't finish in the playoffs, because I think for the sort of first third of the season, Blackburn were the best team in the league, and then they dropped off a little bit. But he's got a good history with developing young players, and people who haven't really looked into this might be a bit surprised by that, because you look at Tony Mowbray and you don't think, oh, there's a progressive coach who likes to play free-flowing football, and utilise young players in his side, but he does. Blackburn, there's a really good article that we tweeted out yesterday, and I'll probably tweet it out again today just so people can see it, which George Corkin from The Athletic wrote in February 2021, I think it was. And it was all about how Mowbray's reputation as a coach has stood him in really good stead when it comes to getting the best young players on loan from top academies in the country. And in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, he's been credited with a huge role in the development of a number of players. And that's going to be important, not just now, but in the future. Like when we did a Twitter space last night, which people can also check out if they want to listen to that. We reacted immediately to the news for around 45 minutes or so. And we talked about how, this isn't a typical situation where a manager leaves a club and there's something badly wrong that needs to be fixed immediately. Tony Mowbray's got to come in and just do more of the same, hasn't he? The style of play is good. The players are playing in good football and scoring goals. They look together. And really all he's got to do immediately anyways is come in and just try and do more of the same. And that's why this makes the most sense to me, is that it's just like removing a piece of the jigsaw and sticking it right back in my opinion. As great as Alex Neil did a job for Sunderland, and I think he's a cracking manager, and obviously what's gone on since then sort of taints his legacy slightly, but you can't deny that he done a brilliant job with this team. And now it's just about trying to carry that on and maybe tweak things here and there, but also, we've got new players coming through the door now, which we haven't really touched on, and we won't, because by the time this goes out, there's probably loads of change gone on with regards to transfers. But what you can tell from the news this week, right, is that we are carrying on as normal.
But it's the first time, I think, in 43 years that we've actually lost a manager to either another club or country. Allardyce went.
I heard Chris say that. Yeah.
And, I think Jimmy Adamson was the one before in the late 70s. And it's completely different, a different scenario to where we are sort of usually appointing managers, where, as I say, there's a whole heap of things to sort out. One thing I think I wouldn't underestimate, and it'll be really interesting with Tony Mowbray, is I think Alex Neil tactically was spot on, and he won us promotion and has got points this season by him being tactically spot on. And I don't think we can kind of brush over that too much. So it'll be really interesting to see how Mowbray sort of comes up on that sort of parameter. But I think you just have to look at Christian Speakman's comments when the press release came out last night. It was very much like Mowbray was aligned to what we want to do as a club with the strategy, all that sort of stuff. His alignment to our ambitions, his personal values. And, there was so much in there, wasn't there, that, as you say, they are looking to find a piece of the jigsaw to come in to an already sort of well-established puzzle, if you like. And that's kind of what gives me... That's why I'm not as bothered about Alex Neil going as I might have been if he was operating in a role that was at the club 5 years ago, where the manager was a be-all and end-all and everything happened because of the manager. There's so much structure there. The transfer policy won't change. The playing style probably won't change a great deal. I think we're still going to be going out and trying to get in people's faces, press, attack. So look, hopefully he does a good job. And I think if you read things that Blackburn fans especially have said, and his former players have said, like, he's a fella who unites a dressing room. He's a fella who gets everybody on one side. He's not somebody to cross. I remember Tony Mowbray as a player, and he was a proper captain. He was like in the mould of Kevin Ball in that respect as a captain. Like he's somebody who led the team from the front, who would run through brick walls, who often ended up with a bust nose or as you can tell by his face, can't you? He's been through a few battles in his time. Bust nose, bust eyebrow, whatever. So like he's somebody who like will unite the dressing room. And I think that's the biggest concern for me in terms of like how Alex Neil's departure leaves the players feeling. And to get somebody in who's got a good track record of uniting the dressing room and bringing everybody together, I think in the short term anyway, should stand us in good stead.
think it helps that Corey Evans is our captain and he's worked under him. You know, that straight away he's got an ally in the dressing room. I hope he has. Anyways, I can't imagine that Tony Mowbray is the type of man who pisses players off.
And Evans was there for years, wasn't he?
Evans he was there
8 years.
Yeah, so he knows them already. He's going to get a good idea of what the dressing room's like from him.
Yeah.
And it's now sort of Corey Evans' job to just sort of sell Mowbray to the players in a way, isn't it? Like, he's worked with them before. He can impart that sort of knowledge and experience on the others. I think the thing is as well with our squad, it's very young. People, you know, we've talked about this quite a lot since Christian Speakman came along. The squad average age has changed dramatically, hasn't it? So this is a young squad, but importantly, they're teachable and you can mould them. And when an experienced coach who's got a bit of respect already in the dressing room comes in, straight away that should ensure that the players stay grounded. I can't imagine, even though Alex Neil was clearly popular and did a great job, I can't imagine that the players will dwell on his departure too much, if I'm honest. They probably think I really enjoyed playing for that manager, but at the same time, you know, was only 6 months, and we're all very aware of why and how he left the club. And the players are probably just at you saw in the performance at the weekend, they reacted accordingly. They knew that the fans were pissed off, and they came flying out the blocks and gave it their all. And I don't expect it to be any different. I can't see them all sulking and, you know, going into business for themselves because Tony Mowbray's coming. I actually think they'll embrace it. And
Alex Neil had a clear reservation about having so many young players. And I think it was abundantly obvious to us watching from the outside. And we kind of hoped that he would buy into it more fully over time, but he obviously had reservations about that. Whereas, you know, the players that Tony Mowbray has brought through at Blackburn, and to be fair, at Blackburn they were often loanees, weren't they? So you often got loans from big clubs. As you said, people trusted him with the players. So for him to have his own players, you know, we haven't got a great deal of. I think there's only really Sims, isn't it? That's a loanee at the moment. This is before deadline day.
Yeah,
but you know, the vast majority.
Obviously we've got a handful coming in, obviously, who are going to be loans. But yeah.
But the vast majority that were brought in so far have very clear, like they have been signed as our players for us to develop. So
yeah,
that's a nice challenge for Mowbray to have, and for those young players as well to know that they've actually got a head coach now who trusts young players, who's got a record for developing young players. You know, there's players who've gone back to the parent clubs from Blackburn after a season who've gone back into the first team in the Premier League. There's players like I think Armstrong was a player that Mowbray had signed at Blackburn. He went off for a decent...
Harvey Elliott's another one, playing in Liverpool's first team now.
That's what I mean. So you've had players like Elliott who've come in from the Premier League, had a season under Mowbray's guidance, and gone back and played Premier League football, haven't they?
Yeah.
So like...
Then there's obviously another one that stands out, Ben Brereton Diaz.
His development's been phenomenal, hasn't it? He even changed his name. He's that good a coach. So, like, you know, but as a young player, that's going to give you a lot of comfort, drive, desire, confidence in your personal development. You know, because ultimately all these players are signed to be part of a successful team, yes, but they want to develop their own careers as well. And all of these players like Dennis Cirkin, Jack Clark, Patrick Roberts, etc., they're all going to be wanting to get back into the Premier League. So if they've got a coach who they think individually, at the very least, will help them achieve that, as well as collectively as a team, then, you know, hopefully it should stand us in good stead.
Well, yeah, we'll leave it there. I think we've said about everything. So yeah, tonight we play Rotherham. If you listen to this after the Rotherham game, I hope we've won. If not, then ignore everything we said about Tony Mowbray. Yeah, Mowbray out. Cheers for joining us, Martin. Cheers everyone for listening. We'll be back, I believe, before Middlesbrough, the preview show. Friday night, of course, we'll be doing Friday Night Live over on Twitter Spaces, so make sure you check that out. And of course, check out ROKERRAPPORT.com right across the week. Obviously, deadline day is usually a busy one for us, so if anything happens, we'll be on it. And yeah, catch you later.